The stars shone brightly against the dark void of space as the massive alien ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. It came without warning, its hull gleaming like polished metal under the distant sun. Captain John Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, Earth's most advanced spaceship. His heart beat faster as he stared at the view screen showing the alien vessel. It was 3 times larger than anything humans had built. "Sir, they're sending us a message," said Officer Lisa Brown, her fingers moving quickly over the control panel. The screen flickered, and for the first time, humans saw the aliens. They had smooth gray skin with large, bulging eyes that blinked sideways. Their heads were hairless and slightly too big for their thin bodies. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "We are the Creks, representatives of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and wish to welcome Earth into our community of space-traveling species." Captain Miller looked at his second-in-command, Tom Wilson, who raised an eyebrow. Something didn't feel right. "I am Captain John Miller of Earth. We are honored by your visit," Miller replied carefully. "May I ask how you learned our language so quickly?" The alien smiled, but the expression looked wrong on its face. "We have observed your world for some time. The Galactic Council always studies new species before making contact." Over the next week, the Creks met with world leaders. They brought amazing technology and promised to help humans advance. They spoke of peace, cooperation, and a bright future for Earth as part of the galactic community. But deep in a secret military base, things were not so friendly. Colonel Kate Roberts studied the data from the alien ship and found strange readings. "They're scanning everything," she told General David Torres. "Our defenses, resources, population centers, everything." The general frowned. "What about the ship itself? What have we learned?" Colonel Roberts pulled up images on her screen. "Their technology is far beyond ours, but our best scientists are working to understand it. Something else is strange. They refuse to let us visit their ship or see any of their weapons." Meanwhile, at the United Nations, the Creks ambassador met with Earth's leaders. He spoke of trade agreements and technological exchange, but the terms seemed one-sided. "The Council requires access to certain resources," the ambassador said smoothly. "In exchange, we will provide medical technology that will extend human life by 50 years. President Maria Garcia looked troubled. "And what resources would those be?" "Just basic materials, water, rare metals, and access to what you call the asteroid belt. Nothing you will miss." After the meeting, President Garcia met privately with other world leaders. "They're hiding something," she said. "They talk about partnership, but their agreement gives them control of our space resources." That night, a junior officer named Ben Taylor was monitoring communications when he caught something unusual. The Creks were sending coded messages back to their home world. With help from the best computer experts, Taylor decoded part of the message. "Primitive species suitable for resource extraction. Military capability minimal. Recommends standard colonization procedure." Taylor rushed the information to Colonel Roberts, who immediately called General Torres and the President. "They're not here as friends," Roberts explained, showing them the decoded message. "They see us as a resource to exploit, not as equals." President Garcia's face hardened. "Then we need to be ready for them. Start Project Phoenix immediately. If they think humans are easy targets, they're about to learn a very important lesson." As dawn broke over Earth, the Creks ambassador smiled at the humans signing his treaty, unaware that deep beneath the mountains, Earth was already preparing its response to the coming betrayal. 3 months passed since the Creks' arrival. Their ships now orbited Earth like giant metal moons, visible to anyone who looked up at night. The aliens had built a headquarters in Geneva, a gleaming tower that stood twice as tall as any human building. People's lives changed quickly. Creks technology appeared everywhere. Their medical pods cured diseases humans had fought for centuries. Their clean energy devices replaced power plants. Their transport systems may travel faster and cheaper. But not everyone trusted these gifts. Colonel Kate Roberts walked through the underground base known as Eagle Nest, watching as scientists studied pieces of Krek's technology. The base was shielded from alien sensors by special materials discovered in the first month after contact. "What have you found?" she asked Dr. Sam Harris, who was examining a small Krek's communication device. Dr. Harris looked up with tired eyes. "Their tech is amazing, but something doesn't make sense. They're giving us medical and transport technology, but nothing that could be used for defense. And look at this." He pointed to his computer screen showing a map of Earth with dozens of blinking dots. "These are all Krek's monitoring stations. They're watching everything we do." Roberts nodded grimly. "They're in our governments too. They call them advisors, but they're pushing for decisions that give the Krek's more control." Outside the base, most humans welcomed the aliens. Krek's technology had made life better. Food was plentiful, jobs were easier, and people lived healthier lives. The aliens seemed friendly, always smiling and offering help. But in space, things were different. The Krek's began building structures in Earth's orbit without asking permission. When questioned, they simply said it was necessary infrastructure for galactic communication. President Garcia called an emergency meeting with her top officials and military leaders. "The Krek's have requested mining rights on the moon," she said. "When I asked why, their ambassador said it was their right under the agreement we signed." "What agreement?" General Torres asked sharply. "Exactly," Garcia replied. "They claimed there was a clause that gave them mineral rights to our entire solar system. But that wasn't in the documents we signed." The door opened, and Ben Taylor rushed in, holding a tablet. "Madam President, we've intercepted and decoded more Krek's messages. You need to see this." The room fell silent as they read the alien communication. "Human control proceeding as planned. Their leaders believe our story of peaceful cooperation. Begin Phase 2 extraction next month. If resistance develops, implement standard suppression protocols." "There's more," Taylor said quietly. "We found their assessment of humans." He read aloud. "Humans are primitive but dangerous if provoked directly. They respond well to comfort and technology. Keep them distracted with small improvements, while we establish full control. They lack the unity and technology to resist once our position is secured." President Garcia stood up, her face stern. "They're planning to take everything while keeping us happy with trinkets. Well, they've underestimated us badly." She turned to General Torres. "How is Project Phoenix progressing?" "Better than expected," Torres replied. "Dr. Lisa Chen has reverse-engineered their shield technology. Jack Wilson's team has adapted their communication systems. We're making progress on weapons that can penetrate their defenses." "Good," Garcia said, "because I think we have less time than we thought." That evening, the Krek's ambassador met with world leaders again. His smile seemed colder now. "The Council has decided to establish security outposts on your planet," he announced. "This is for your protection, of course." "Protection from what?" President Garcia asked. "From yourselves, primarily," the ambassador replied, his large eyes unblinking. "The Council has determined that humans require more direct guidance. We will begin tomorrow." As the meeting ended, Garcia sent a coded message to Eagle Nest. "Fijo Inix, ACTLRAT, time, running out." Deep underground, scientists and soldiers worked frantically. The true test of humanity was about to begin. The mountain appeared ordinary from the outside. Snow covered its peaks, and thick forests grew on its slopes. No one would guess that inside this mountain, Project Phoenix was changing the future of humanity. 500 meters below the surface, Dr. Lisa Chen stood in a massive chamber filled with humming machines and busy scientists. On the wall, a digital clock counted down. 16 days, 7 hours, 23 minutes until the Krek's would begin their security operations on Earth. "Show me the latest test results," Dr. Chen said to Jack Wilson, her chief engineer. Wilson handed her a tablet. The shield technology works. We tested it against a replica of the Krek's energy weapons. Our shield held for 3 minutes longer than theirs. Chen smiled for the first time in days. And the weapons? Even better. Look at this. Wilson led her to another part of the facility where a metal cube sat on a testing platform. This is the same material as the Krek's ships. Watch. He pressed a button, and a beam of blue light hit the cube. Instead of bouncing off like previous weapons, the beam penetrated the metal, leaving a clean hole. How? Chen asked, examining the damage. Their shields work on a frequency pattern. We found gaps in the pattern and created an energy pulse that slips through those gaps. The Kreks never fixed this weakness because no species they've encountered had the science to find it. In another section of the facility, Colonel Roberts met with pilots training on simulators designed to mimic Krek ships. Their vessels are faster, but they turn like trucks, explained Flight Commander Alex Johnson. Our pilots can outmaneuver them in close combat. We just need to get close enough. Roberts nodded. And the stealth technology. Ready for deployment. We've modified 20 fighter jets with the new systems. They won't see us coming. Throughout the mountain complex, similar breakthroughs were happening. Engineers built new weapons based on Krek's designs, but improved with human innovations. Computer experts created viruses designed to infiltrate alien systems. Scientists developed countermeasures for every Krek's advantage they could identify. But time was running out. On the surface, the situation worsened daily. Krek's ships landed in major cities, unloading strange equipment and more alien personnel. Their advisors now sat in government offices around the world, monitoring human decisions. People who spoke against the aliens disappeared overnight. President Garcia managed to maintain contact with Project Phoenix through carefully hidden channels. In a secure video call, she spoke with the project leaders. The Kreks have demanded that we disband our militaries, she reported. They claim Earth only needs their protection now. When I refused, their ambassador said compliance wasn't optional. We need more time, Dr. Chen said. The defensive systems aren't fully tested. Time is something we don't have, General Torres replied. Yesterday, Krek's forces took control of 3 military bases in Europe. They disabled our weapons with some kind of energy field. Roberts stepped forward. Madam President, we have to act now. We've prepared a first strike plan that targets their communication systems. If we can cut them off from their home world, we gain valuable time. President Garcia looked tired but determined. The other world leaders agree. We can't wait until they have complete control. Begin Operation Thunderbolt tomorrow at dawn. As the call ended, the project leaders gathered their top staff for final preparations. Each of you leads a crucial part of our defense, General Torres told them. The Kreks think we're primitive and easy to control. They expect us to surrender without a fight. Tomorrow, they learn how wrong they are. Throughout the night, secret messages went to military units still loyal to Earth governments. Civilian resistance groups received coded instructions. Special forces teams moved silently into position near Krek's installations. By morning, Project Phoenix was ready. Humanity's future would be decided in the next 24 hours. The day began like any other under Krek's occupation. Their ships hovered over major cities, casting long shadows across the land. People went to work, constantly watched by alien peacekeepers who patrolled the streets. At the Geneva headquarters, the Krek's High Commander Drav met with what remained of Earth's government. His large eyes scanned the room as he spoke. The transition period is over, Drav announced. Earth is now officially under Galactic Council protection. All human military forces will surrender their weapons today. President Garcia kept her face neutral. Our agreement mentioned partnership, not control. Drav made the strange clicking sound that passed for Krek's laughter. You misunderstand. There was never a partnership. The Council has managed thousands of developing worlds this way. Your resources are too valuable to leave in the hands of a species that might destroy itself. And if we refuse? Asked the European Union representative. Instead of answering, Drav pressed a button on his wrist device. The large screen behind him lit up, showing images from space. A Krex battleship fired on a small human space station. The station exploded in silence, debris scattering into the void. "That was your International Space Station," Drav said calmly. "Consider it a demonstration." Gasps filled the room. 300 people had been on that station. "You promised peace," Garcia said, her voice shaking with controlled anger. "We promised progress," Drav corrected. "Sometimes progress requires sacrifice. Now, the Council requires immediate access to your remaining uranium, rare earth elements, and water reserves. Your cooperation will make this transition smoother." As the meeting continued, similar scenes played out worldwide. Krex forces moved to seize power plants, water treatment facilities, and military bases. Their technology easily overwhelmed conventional human defenses. In Moscow, Krex troops took control of the Kremlin. In Washington, D.C., they surrounded the Pentagon. In Beijing, they occupied government buildings. Each time, their message was the same: resistance is futile and unnecessary. Underground in the Phoenix facility, Colonel Roberts watched the reports coming in from around the world. "They're moving faster than we expected," she told General Torres. "They've already seized 30% of our critical infrastructure." Torres nodded grimly. "And they've started mass arrests of military personnel. It's time." He picked up a secure phone and said one word: Thunderbolt. Across the globe, hidden resistance cells activated. In the Krex Geneva headquarters, 5 human staff members who had seemed completely loyal to the aliens suddenly moved in perfect coordination. They placed small devices on key points of the building's structure and walked calmly to the exits. High Commander Drav was still speaking when all the lights went out. The backup systems failed to activate. In the darkness, President Garcia and the other human leaders slipped away through passages prepared months earlier. Simultaneously, in every city with Krex presence, similar blackouts occurred. The aliens' communication systems went silent. Their ships lost contact with each other. Dr. Chen's voice came through on the emergency channel. Phase 1 complete. The Krex are cut off from their command structure and their home world. But the aliens responded quickly. Emergency protocols activated, and Krex soldiers began rounding up humans in the streets. Their weapons fired strange beams that paralyzed rather than killed. They needed human workers alive. In London, Krex troops surrounded a hospital and demanded all humans exit the building. When doctors refused to abandon their patients, the aliens breached the doors. They found the hospital empty. All across Earth, similar scenes unfolded. The expected human targets weren't where they should be. Underground tunnels, forgotten bunkers, and hidden facilities, prepared in secret during months of occupation, now sheltered millions. As night fell, Krex commanders realized they faced organized resistance, but they remained confident in their superior technology and firepower. On their ships, Krex officers prepared for a short, decisive conflict. They had conquered hundreds of worlds before. Earth would be no different. They were wrong. Dawn broke over a world at war. The Krex had recovered from the initial blackout and were using their advanced technology to track down human resistance. Their ships moved in formation above major cities, weapons ready. In the command center of Project Phoenix, General Torres stood before a wall of screens showing battle situations around the world. Colonel Roberts entered, her uniform dusty from the underground journey. "All units report ready," she said, "waiting for your command." Torres checked the time. "The Krex expect us to hide or surrender. They don't think we can fight back effectively." He pressed a button on the communication panel. "All units, execute Phase 2. I repeat, execute Phase 2. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, a submarine silently rose to firing depth. Its captain, Mark Davis, gave the order: launch Special Packages 1 through 6. 6 missiles burst from the water, their trails visible for only moments before special stealth technology engaged. The Krex detection systems saw nothing. High above Earth, a Krex battleship commander watched his sensors for human military movement. Primitive weapons, he told his crew. Their missiles cannot penetrate our shields. The first modified missile hit the battleship's shield. Instead of exploding, it released a pulse of energy on a frequency Dr. Chen's team had discovered. The shield flickered and failed. 5 more missiles followed, not carrying explosives but special devices that attached to the ship's hull. Across the ship, systems began shutting down. Engines failed. Weapons went offline. Communications died. Similar scenes played out worldwide as submarines, hidden fighter jets, and ground launchers fired the special weapons. Within 20 minutes, 15 Krex ships hung powerless in the sky. At the Geneva headquarters, now the center of Krex operations, High Commander Drav received the alarming reports. "Impossible," he shouted. "Their technology is primitive. They cannot disable our ships." His second-in-command looked worried. "Sir, we've lost contact with our fleet, and our ground forces report human attacks using weapons similar to ours." Outside the building, the first sign of trouble was a strange humming sound. Krex guards looked up to see 30 human aircraft appearing seemingly from nowhere, their stealth technology deactivated now that they were in position. The aircraft fired weapons that cut through Krex defenses as if they weren't there. Inside secret bunkers across Earth, military leaders watched through secure feeds as Operation Thunderbolt unfolded. Human forces, equipped with reverse-engineered and improved Krex technology, struck with precision and coordination. In orbit, astronauts who had secretly trained on captured Krex vessels boarded the disabled alien ships. They moved through the corridors, using weapons that bypassed Krex armor. Back at Project Phoenix, Dr. Chen monitored the battle from her station. "The energy weapons are working better than expected," she reported. "The Krex armor has the same weakness as their shields." Colonel Roberts pointed to another screen showing Krex troops retreating. "They never expected us to adapt their technology so quickly. Their standard invasion protocol doesn't account for this level of counterattack." By noon, the tide had turned dramatically. 7 major Krex bases had fallen to human forces. Their ships either hung disabled in the sky or had been captured. Their ground troops, cut off from command and facing weapons they thought humans couldn't possibly have, began surrendering. At the Geneva headquarters, human special forces broke through the final defenses. They found High Commander Drab trying to send an emergency signal to the Galactic Council. Captain James Lee, leader of the strike team, approached the alien commander. "Your transmission equipment won't work," Lee said calmly. "We've been jamming all outgoing signals for the past hour." Drab's large eyes blinked rapidly in what humans had learned was a sign of shock. "How? You are a primitive species. This is not possible." Lee smiled grimly. "That was your first mistake. You underestimated us." As the sun set, President Garcia addressed her military commanders from a secure location. "Phase 2 complete. Prepare for Phase 3, our message to the Galactic Council." 3 days after the human counterattack, the world had changed completely. Krex ships no longer dominated the skies. Instead, many hung in orbit, now controlled by human crews who had quickly learned to operate the alien technology. In Washington, D.C., a special meeting took place in a building untouched by the recent conflict. President Garcia sat at the head of a long table. Military leaders, scientists, and representatives from nations around the world filled the room. At the far end of the table sat High Commander Drav, flanked by human guards. "You have made a grave mistake," Drav said, his voice steady despite his defeat. "The Galactic Council controls over 300 worlds. When they learn what happened here, they will send a force that will turn your planet to ash." President Garcia leaned forward. "Perhaps, but they'll have to find out first." She nodded to Dr. Chen, who pressed a button on her tablet. A holographic display appeared above the table, showing Earth's solar system. Small lights indicated the positions of former Krex ships, now under human control. We've secured every communication relay in our system, Garcia explained. No signals have reached the Council about your defeat. As far as they know, Earth's colonization is proceeding normally. General Torres added, we've also captured your entire database. We know the Council expects regular reports, with the next due in 2 days. We plan to send that report, but with some changes. Drav's large eyes widened slightly. You cannot deceive the Council. Our communication protocols are complex and already decoded, interrupted Jack Wilson, who had led the team that broke the Krex encryption. We can mimic your transmissions perfectly. Colonel Roberts stepped forward, but we won't need to pretend for long. Project Phoenix has entered its final phase. The holographic display changed to show 3 large ships, unlike anything the Krex had brought to Earth. Their design combined alien technology with human innovation. These vessels were built in secret while you thought we were just accepting your control, Dr. Chen explained. They're faster than your ships and have defensive and offensive capabilities you thought impossible for us to develop. Drav stared at the images in disbelief. The Council will detect any approach to galactic space. No, they won't, Wilson said confidently. We found flaws in your sensor network, gaps you never fixed because no primitive species could exploit them. President Garcia stood, bringing the room to attention. High Commander, you came to Earth believing we would surrender our world without a real fight. You thought we would be like the other worlds you've conquered. That was your fatal error. She walked to a large screen on the wall and activated it. Images appeared showing humans working together around the world, repairing damage, operating Krex technology, training on alien systems. Humans have one quality your reports fail to appreciate, Garcia continued. When threatened, we unite. Nations that were enemies for centuries fought side by side against your forces. Scientists shared discoveries instead of keeping secrets. That's something your Council has never encountered before. Colonel Roberts described the plan. Tomorrow, our 3 ships will depart for the Galactic Council headquarters. They carry a delegation of Earth's leaders and evidence of what happened here. We will address the Council directly. Drav looked genuinely alarmed. They will destroy your ships before you can speak. President Garcia smiled. No, they won't, because you'll be traveling with us, along with 500 of your personnel. The Council may be willing to sacrifice you, but we're betting they'll at least hear us out first. As the meeting ended, Dr. Chen showed Drav one final hologram, a small device that looked simple but contained complex circuitry. This is what we're calling the Phoenix Protocol, she explained. If the Council refuses to negotiate and attacks Earth instead, this device will activate. It will send everything we've learned about Krex weaknesses to every world in your empire. We imagine some of those primitive species might be interested in fighting back. For the first time, High Commander Drav looked truly afraid. The Council has never faced anything like this. Exactly, said President Garcia. It's time they met humanity. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched impossibly wide, with curved walls that rose to a dome showing the stars of 1,000 worlds. 300 delegates from different species sat in tiered seats, each more alien than the last. Some had multiple limbs, others glowing skin, and many had forms humans had never imagined possible. At the center of this assembly stood President Garcia, General Torres, Dr. Chen, and a small group of Earth's representatives. Despite their ordinary human appearance, they commanded the complete attention of the gathered aliens. The Council recognizes the unregistered delegation from Earth, announced the Grand Speaker, a tall being with silvery skin and 4 arms. You have violated numerous Council laws by forcing your way into this chamber. Explain yourselves before we determine your punishment. President Garcia stepped forward. Behind her, on the massive viewing screen, images appeared showing the defeat of the Krex forces on Earth. We come not as supplicants, but as equals, Garcia began, her voice strong and clear. The Krex came to our world with lies. They promised partnership but planned enslavement. They underestimated humanity. and they paid the price for that mistake. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many council members looked at the Krek's representatives, who sat in uncomfortable silence. High Commander Drav had been brought to stand before his own leaders. The humans possess technology they should not have, he admitted. They reversed our most advanced systems and improved upon them in ways we thought impossible. The Grand Speaker's eyes narrowed. Impossible or not, it happened. Now an unknown species controls 17 Krek's warships and has breached our most secure location. He turned to the human delegation. What do you want from the council? Dr. Chen activated a small device, projecting detailed schematics that hovered in the air. These are just a few of the weaknesses we found in council technology. Your shield frequencies can be penetrated. Your communication systems can be decoded. Your weapons can be countered. The chamber erupted in angry shouts and denials. Some delegates called for immediate military action against Earth. Others demanded the humans be imprisoned. General Torres raised his hand, and suddenly all sound in the chamber ceased. The silence technology, another modified Krek's invention, gave him the floor. We did not come to threaten, Torres said calmly. We came to establish a new relationship. Earth wishes to join the galactic community, but as equals, not as subjects. A delegate with blue-scaled skin stood. Why should we grant equality to a species that has existed in space for less than a century? The youngest council member has traveled the stars for over 1,000 years. Colonel Roberts, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward. Because age does not equal wisdom, because diversity of thought leads to innovation, and because, frankly, you need us. She activated another hologram showing a Krek's battleship being easily disabled by Earth's countermeasures. The Council has grown complacent. You've conquered so many worlds that you've stopped evolving. Humans can bring new ideas, new approaches, new solutions. The Grand Speaker conferred quietly with other senior council members. The hall remained tense as they deliberated. Finally, he addressed the human delegation again. In 10,000 years of council history, no world has ever reversed a standard colonization. Your species has demonstrated unusual capabilities. He paused, choosing his words carefully. The Council proposes a probationary membership for Earth, with full voting rights after 50 years. President Garcia shook her head. Full membership now, or we remain independent. And we share our technology with every world that wishes to be free of Council control. Another wave of shocked murmurs filled the chamber. The Grand Speaker looked troubled, but finally nodded. The Council accepts these terms. Earth will be granted full membership status, effective immediately. As the formal documents were prepared, an ancient delegate approached the humans privately. His species was one of the Council founders, with skin like wrinkled paper and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of eons. You have changed everything today, the Ancient One said quietly. Many here fear what humanity will bring to the galaxy. Dr. Chen smiled. Change doesn't have to be frightening. Humans have much to learn from the Council, but perhaps the Council has things to learn from us as well. The ancient delegate nodded slowly. Indeed, your arrival marks the beginning of a new age for the galaxy. As Earth's delegation prepared to return home, President Garcia looked out at the stars visible through the Council dome. Each light represented a world, a civilization, potential new allies or friends. We came to the stars seeking knowledge, she said softly. We found danger instead, but overcame it. Now the real journey begins.